I wanted something different from the jazz world or the I wanted something more wide.
Hello and welcome to the Keyboard Chronicles, a podcast for keyboard players. I'm your host, David Holloway, and I'm always thrilled to be here, and it's no different tonight. Look, I've just finished a near hour and 10 interview with someone I've been a major fan of since they broke onto the scene in the 1990s. If you took any notice of music during the 1990s, there was nothing more innovative or transformative from my viewpoint anyway than Deep Forest. That amazing combination of really high quality electronic beats and pads and so many other instruments with what Eric terms as ethnic music. So music from other cultures, diverse cultures from around the world. It certainly caught my attention. And as you'll hear during the interview, there's a reason it caught Australians' attention in particular, but went on to become, Deep Forest went on to become a massive worldwide success, selling over 10 million albums, winning a Grammy, a World Music Award, you name it, Eric has done it. As you'll hear, Deep Forest is a core part of his output, but he has also contributed to a range of amazing collaborations. I'm talking here, we'll be hearing about Peter Gabriel, we'll be hearing about David Foster, we'll be hearing about Joe Zawinul. We're going to hear an amazing story about Herbie Hancock. Even if you're unaware of Deep Forest or haven't listened deeply to their music, and I strongly recommend that you do, there is lots in here for any keyboard player across a whole range of genres. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed speaking to Eric, and I'll talk to you at the end of the show. Eric, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here, sir. I cannot thank you enough for taking your time on a lovely Wednesday morning in France. I thought we would just start off talking a little bit about your musical upbringing. So tell us about your early years and what made you passionate about music.
So hello, thank you very much for receiving me. It's a long story because everything starts when I was 12 or 13. I was a young boy in north of France. I was born in north of France, in Valenciennes. And at that time, during the summertime, my parents moved from one city to another city. So I just arrived in a new city. I think I was 13 years old. And I have no friends, nobody. I knew nobody. So I started to hang around in the city. And in September, the school starts again. So I sat down in a classroom, no friends. I knew nobody. And somebody sat down close to me, and he said, "Do you know Deep Purple?" I say, "Who? Deep Purple? No, I don't know." And so this guy introduced me to Deep Purple, and I become in love with the sound of the Hammond B3, the John Lord Hammond B3. And everything starts like that. So of course, I say, no, I want to know more. So at that time, it was a, little cassette. So we share some cassette, and I listen a lot of music like that. The music was coming from his grand brother, elder brother from this guy. So the elder brother was more in the music at that time because he was older. He was, 16, 18, 20, I don't know. So I listened a lot of music completely unknown for me because I came from a family where the music was radio music, nothing rock or special, just average radio music. And could you imagine? It was in 73, 74. Could you imagine the music at that time I discovered?
Oh, yeah.
Pink Floyd, The Who, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, everything. Genesis, yes, everything. So I became mad with that, and I decided, okay, I want to make this job. I want to be a musician. But of course, I didn't know I cannot play a keyboard. I have no notion of no skill for no. I never play keyboard. So in my city, close to my house, there was a little place where a band was rehearsal, you know, like they play. I remember they play the Rolling Stones tune, and so I went to see the band playing, and I saw a keyboard on the side, and I started to put my finger and to try to imitate. You know, I basically imitate what I heard on the cassette. And it's how everything started. And I was quite fun because I did my first concert, my first show, a bit small show, when I was 16. So, 2 years later, I was able to play live with, some musician, and we play some tune from, Genesis, from Yes, and, Deep Purple.
And so, Eric, you in those early years were totally self-taught. You taught yourself.
Yeah, completely myself. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so, how did you, at age 16, you're playing in a band, obviously loving it. What was the next step for you to where music became a full-time pursuit for you?
So, on the way from my house to the school, there was a music shop. I mean, instrument shop. So, when I came back at around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. every day, I stopped by the shop, and there was a showroom with a organ, electric organ, piano. You know, like a regular shop at that time, music shop, violin, everything. So I started to play every day, and the owner from the shop, knew my father because my father was working not so far from there. And one day he said, "Oh, you know, your son is coming every day. You should come to see him because he play well." Because I think this guy wanted my father to buy something. And it's happened like that. My father bought me a little, electric organ. I remember it was, the first one was a Wilson electric organ, a small keyboard with a few tabs on the left, like a reed, flute, oboe, you know, this kind of thing, vibrato. It was my first organ. And a few months later, maybe 1 year later, my father bought me a Farfisa, double keyboard, you know, VIP 500 Farfisa, I remember.
Wow.
So I was proud because I could have a tone wheel, you know. But the sound was Farfisa, and my dream was to be John Lord or Keith Emerson. So I borrowed some distortion pedal from the guitarist, and I put on the organ, you know. Yeah. At that time, you know, there is no internet, not a lot of information about how it works. Now everything is on internet, but at that time we have to imagine everything. So I just tweak my sound and started to, and I paint my organ in black because Farfisa was full of color, you know, red. And for me, a real organ should be black. So I just paint my organ. Yeah, you know, it was really a teenager period that I love because I was able to invite everything. My imagination was running very fast, and I discovered a lot of music, a lot. Very, very quickly, I discovered the jazz fusion period, you know, with Chick Corea, Mahavishnu Orchestra. This period was really amazing. I think it was a golden age for a musician because everything was there, everything.
And back at that early age, Eric, were you already starting to compose music at that early age?
I think as I'm a self-taught musician, improvising or trying something was a natural process. So I will not say I was a composer, but kind of, you know, because I was experimenting and I put some little riffs, some little chords. I didn't know I have no idea about harmony. It was just by ear. And step by step, I become more aware of the music, because I realized, especially when I started to listen to jazz fusion, I started to realize that I could not only do by ear because it's become very complex. I have to understand something. Especially when I started to listen to Chick Corea or Herbie Hancock, it was, wow, what is this? So, another friend was a great pianist, classical pianist, and he teach me a little things, like, okay, Eric, this is chord, this is a 7 chord, dominant chord, minor, the scale, and I started to understand, and step by step. And of course, it's become a part then of my course because I wanted to know more and more and more and more. And I wanted to be able to write music for other musicians to give my idea to some musician. And when I was 18, I was already doing some recording session in the studio in my city. In Lille, it was a bigger city. There was a recording studio, and they did a lot of advertising, for radio shops, everything. So I was able to compose some little music and to orchestrate it for brass. I mean, not say brass, but saxophone or sometimes one or two or three violin, to get some spice. And I wanted to know how to write it. So I learned the music like that.
That's amazing. And your first experiences in the recording studio, do you recall what that meant to you at the time? Just what an eye-opener it was for you?
Yes. It's it was one of my best memory because I was in Paris to record a full album with a French artist. And all the other musician was really pro musician. There was a guy, a session guy, very serious one. The drummer was Joe Hammer, who just passed away a few weeks ago. Was a drummer. Padovan, a bass player, and I was supposed to play the Fender Rhodes piano. And I remember the first thing when we put the headphone and we started to rehearse. After 6 or 8 bars, the drummer, Joe, said to the engineer, "Could you put down the rod in my headphone, please?" So I said, "Wow, it's very hard because this guy is a pro and he didn't want to hear me." And so it was very hard, for me. But I tried to do my best and arrived the time for lunch. So we went to the lunch, and the bass and the bass player and the drum player said to me, "Eric, you play well, but you need to play on the layback, on the bottom of the beat." So I say, "Wow, what is this?" And they explained to me that, very layback. And say, "If you play like that, it's perfect." And I understood. And the afternoon, I play like that. So they gave me in 2 phrases. They gave me my biggest lesson of music, playing in studio. Just playing in the. I don't know how you say in English, but in French we say au fond du temps. It means really, really solid on the tempo, on the beat. And so yeah, that was my first session.
That's also very interesting. And so how did you go on to develop great confidence in your session work? Was session work something you started to do more of?
Yes, I did more and more. And I became confident because I was happy with my work, so I continued to work every day to practice piano, to learn, to understand how to make sound design, for instance, for a Moog or for the Prophet 5 came at that time. And I say, wow, what can we do with that? And at the same time, I was listening to Weather Report, Joe Zawinul. So I said, I want to have this sound. So it was always a process of discovering new music and trying to imitate my big brother, my big artist I admire. So it was like that. So I was really young, so I didn't thought about it's complex or it's impossible. I just let's do it.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm really interested to know, Eric, those early years, your first time with those key synthesizers. So you mentioned the Moog, you mentioned the Prophet 5. Do you recall going from Farfisa organs and Rhodes pianos to synthesizers? Do you recall what that was like for you and how that opened your mind further?
Yeah. My first encounter with a mini Moog was really funny because I saw a mini Moog, say, wow. And on the mini Moog, on the right side, you have attack, decay, sustain, release, and for me, attack was a button where if you put more attack, you have more attack, which is just opposite. Because when you put attack, it's very slow. But in my mind, I don't know why. If I want attack, I need to put attack. So I was quite surprised to hear nothing was coming from the synth, that doesn't work. And a guy in the studio said, no, just put attack at 0 and then you have attack. Say, okay. It's just reversed my mind. This is really my first time with the mini Moog. And of course, after I understood how it works and yeah. And the analog synth was quite easy. But one day came the DX7. And the DX7 was another amazing synth. And so this synth, I put it on my in front of me with my headphone, and I tried to trick everything to understand how it works. And I was maybe not the one, but one of the one in my area to be able to program some sound on the DX7. I wanted to imitate the PPGs, Fairlight, because this synth was just amazing. And with my DX7, I tried to imitate, the Trevor Horn sound production,
And you've obviously done very well at that. And yes, you were certainly one of those brave people that programmed a DX7 because it was not easy, the DX7 to program. So you were brave. And so I'm fascinated then, Eric, to move as you start to move towards your own work with Deep Forest. What was the bridge between doing that session work, learning synthesizers, and actually starting to create your own work? What sort of led to that?
I think it started when the computer came in the game, because during that time, to make music, it was only in a studio, and to record, it was with a tape recorder. At home, I have a little 4-track, Tascam with the 4 view meters, but it was quite limited and noisy. So to make some work, it was really in a studio, and at that time the studio was quite expensive, so you cannot spend a lot of time. Sometime after a session, you have 1 hour. But one day the computer came. And the MIDI came with the DX7 and some. So in my bedroom, really, I could have a little computer, few synths, and record in MIDI, and be able to make program change. So my synthesizer was not only one, but could be 2 or 3 synthesizers, time after time. And from there, and of course, you could save your work and rework on it and change the tempo, everything. So from there, it really changed in my mind. I say, okay, now it's become very serious and complex. We need to master that part of the job. And I program as a sequencer. I program a lot of music, and I started to store some ID, and it become like that. And after a few months, I don't know, but I don't remember exactly, but I had I don't know, 20, 30, 40 IDs, musical IDs in the computer that I can recall, listen, change. And I think it started like that. The idea to make music by yourself at home started like that.
Yes. No, that's wonderful. And so For those that are watching and listening, the vast majority will be aware of Deep Forest, and Deep Forest was a huge inspiration for me in the 1990s. In that, like you mentioned, John Lord and his B3 and Deep Purple, from an electronic music viewpoint, Deep Forest was one of those releases, like one of those outfits where you changed what electronic music was. So, people like Kraftwerk transformed it, and then in the 90s you transformed it with that pollination between electronic music and wonderful samples. And so I'm really interested, just how did you, and I know you're the co-founder of Deep Forest, so how did you first bring that collaboration together and work out that you had an original sound? Because it is so original, and yeah, it still is, but for the time too, was incredibly original.
Yeah. When I met Michel Sanchez, my partner from Deep Forest, together we were very fascinated by what we call ethnic music. Remember again that at that time, no internet, no TV channel with music, a bit of MTV beginning, but not. It was not so easy to discover music from other country and from other culture. The only solution for me, the only way to discover music, was to go to the record shop and to check the music from Senegal, from Cameroon, from Australia, and you have to buy it because you cannot. You have to buy it back home, put on the CD player, and see what's happened. And of course, as I told you, in my room I have my computer, my synthesizer, CD player. So I put some CD and play some keyboard around, and the magic came like that. I say, wow, something's very special by mixing the pad of the GD 800, a beautiful pad with the DX7, and playing some ethnic sound. There is something magic because it's quite not the same scale. The sound of the old recording is what we call now lo-fi, lo-fi. So it was magic, and I wanted to be able to control a bit the ethnic music. So I put the CD in the sampler, just a regular archive sampler, and try to chop the sample and to map it on my keyboard and play like that, So I was able to restructure the music from that country into my music. It was quite interesting, quite innovative for me. Of course, I had no idea that it became a CD because I never had a recording contract. So it was just experiment. But eventually, one day, it's become Deep Forest because it was somebody listened to it and said, okay, let's make a CD with that. So, but the idea started to be able to just to mix some different influences. And in the beginning of the 90s, in Paris, the world music scene was quite big. A lot of African artists came to Paris to play. So this music was in the air. It was not so complicated to make a link between this music and electronic music.
Did you realize at the time, though, how original your approach to that was? Because as you mentioned, the internet was not widespread. So did you believe, well, I'm doing something great here, but there are probably others doing the same? Or did you have an idea that maybe what you were doing was truly original?
No, I never thought like that. I just did it because I wanted to. I love it. I love this sound, and I started to realize that a certain type, not every chords could fit with what I have in mind. I have to spread my chords and make it more sophisticated harmony. We need to go to the Ravel or Debussy territories with Suscat, Sus2, Not a lot of seventh chords, for instance. Of course there is, but I wanted something different from the jazz world or the I wanted something more wide. And with drones, for example, so everything was in the air like that for me, and I just built my vocabulary at that time. Before that, I tried to play like my heroes. I wanted to play like my keyboard heroes, like Korea or Hancock or Lyle Mays, or all I cannot name everybody, but of course you know what I mean. And from that time, when I started to mix with ethnic music, I say, okay, now I want to find different way to play my chords, and it's become my natural language until now, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And were there other electronic music artists that were inspiring you at the time? So obviously people like Herbie and John Lord and all those big brothers that you spoke of are important, but were there other emerging artists or other electronic artists that fascinated you at the time?
Yeah, at that time I was working a lot in between Paris and Brussels, a lot in Brussels. And in Brussels, there was an electronic scene in a club at night. It was like acid music, So the name of the artist was not known, but the music was playing in the club very, and I really like this energy. For me, it was like the energy of the hard rock that when I was teenager, it was a same kind of energy. When you listen to Hula Lot I Love, Led Zeppelin, or Kashmir, the Led Zeppelin, and then you listen to this electronic music. It's not the same. It's not the same aesthetic, but the energy for me was the same. So I wanted to experience more with this music. And I remember, I didn't know his name at that time, but Rob Acid, that I met later, was the king of the 303. So I was listening this kind of music. At the same time, I was listening a lot of rock and all the music from my heroes and jazz music, and and ethnic music. So everything mixed in my head, and I wanted to make loops in my music instead of playing with drummer. Just put a loop, because the loop was coming from this area, from the club, the techno. We didn't say techno at that time, but dance floor, from the Brussels scene. So it was a mix of everything like that. But when you're in this moment, you don't realize you just do it one day after another day. Now it's easy for me to remember, but at that time it was a regular stuff.
As you mentioned, you started off doing it because you loved it, and I know you still do love it. When you were at the stage of a recording contract and recorded that first Deep Forest album, how long did that take you, and did you have to adjust your approach because you had the contract? So did you have to go into a studio? Did you do initial demos at home? What was your approach to that first album?
No, it was quite easy, because the studio was a studio where I worked a lot before. So it was I knew the studio perfectly, and I knew the people there. So it was quite easy process. And no, it wasn't. I didn't change anything. Just record the ID and be able to make a good sound, with good equipment, and it was just that simple.
And for that first album, what were the key pieces of gear? So what synthesizers and software for the computer were you using to create that first album?
So the sampler was Akai. I had the S900 Akai with the floppy disk. And Michel, my friend, has the S1000 Akai. I think the one with the reverb, some effects in that. So we spent a lot of time just to make some loops. My keyboard at that time was the DX7, of course. I have a DX7, and I have the TX7 was the expander. So I put the DX7 and the expander side by side, same sound, with an analog mind, same sound, little detune and pan. So I mean, when I play a pad, or it was really wide, like an analog synth, but with a digital one. Another one I had was the GD800. A lot of sound from Deep Forest come from the GD800. I had a Moog, mini Moog and multi Moog. What do we have to? I think Michel had Korg, WS Korg, and
Yes.
I think he had a M1. I'm not sure he had a M1 and maybe he had a Yamaha SY SI-77, I think. So basically, that was the thing. The sampler was really the foundation, because the loops, the sound of the ethnic, and the other synth was just around. And in the studio at that time, there were a Fairlight 2, which is one of my favorites, and an old Fairlight 1 with the big floppy. And there was a couple of songs from the Fairlight 1 in the first album, which gives a very lo-fi that I love. Yeah. It was not a lot of equipment, but
no, but from that equipment you created something truly unique. And so, do you recall when you finished that first album? I mean, no artist knows whether their product will be successful and change or be transformative. But did you have any understanding of whether you were happy with the outcome, that you were putting something you were happy with out into the world?
Yeah, I was really happy with the album, but honestly, I was sure it was not a success, because when I came back home after a few days, and every week when I came back home during the album, I played the little cassette, to my friends, and they really didn't care. They say, "Wow, what is this? Who is the singer? Well, where's the guitar?" No, it was not a big success with my friends. So when the album was released by Sony Music, at the beginning it was not a big success in France. It started in Australia. The success came from Australia, where somebody played the music on a radio show. Yeah, and somebody plays the music it plays Sweet Lullaby on the radio show, and people start to call, "Oh, who is this? Who is this? Who is this?" And so Sony Australia called Sony France and say, there is something happening here. So send the guy to make some promo. So I went to Australia, to Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, to make some promo. And when I was in Australia, during that week, Deep Forest became number 1 on the charts. So we had a big heavy rotation on MTV. And from Australia, it went to California. California started to buzz, and then New York buzz, big in USA. So from there, big to London, and after that, only big to France. It make a big round world tour before to become a hit in France.
And then were your friends interested?
Yeah, when they saw that the music was on TV, they started to believe me. Say, "Oh, congratulations!"
Yes, no, that's amazing, and I was honestly unaware that Australia was the start of that. So that's amazing on its own, and very well deserved. And that's obviously how I became such a fan. So that's amazing. Now, obviously, over all these years, you've continued to release wonderful work through Deep Forest. You've sold over 10 million albums. You've done some really innovative work. So just staying a little bit longer with Deep Forest, how has your approach evolved? Has your Do you do things any differently? How do you get your new ideas? What is sort of your approach and how it's changed over the years?
So it's a good question because the first album was a big success. We sold millions all around the world. So when you have a contract with a record company and you need to make the number 2 next album, the company wants you to make the same. Because they know that this kind of music is working and they want Deep Forest to become Deep Forest number 2 and basically just copy your album, make another success. But with Michel, we didn't think like that. First, because we thought that we were very lucky to be number 1 and to make a big success. But we were really sure that it was by chance. It will not last forever. So we say, okay, we have the money to make another album. Let's do another things that we love. Don't do the same again. So the first one was mainly based on African chants. So the next one, we decided to explore Eastern Europe, which is completely different culture, different sounds. And we started to make music with a Hungarian, Bulgarian chants, Polish, Russian, different instrument, different flavor. And it was a big risk because it could be a big flop, But we didn't care. We just composed the music. And when we play the music to Sony Music, they say, okay, it's interesting. And they released the album, and the number 2, the Bohème, became even bigger than the first one. Bohème was nominated for the Grammy Award, World Award, and we won the Grammy Award in the Grammy there.
Here we go, lovely.
The World Award. So we won the biggest recompense, biggest Grammy with the album number 2. So it gave us confidence to make every time to try something different. And for the third album, Comparsa, we went to Cuba, Mexico, Madagascar, another different flavor every time. And I continue to do that all the time. I don't want to make a catalog of every country. It's not like that, but I want to think, okay, maybe I want to explore this and see what can happen with this kind of music. And it's my way of thinking. So now it's 30 years. So after 30 years, I experimented quite in different directions. So maybe now I can again, explore territories I already did before because it's around, But the aesthetics change, from the 90s to now. The music is different. The sound are different. The technical instruments are different. So my idea is always to not do the same, change every time.
Yeah. Which is a wonderful way to approach music. And I'm really interested to hear about some of your collaborations, speaking of different countries, over the last 10 to 12 years. So I know you've done some wonderful work, for example, in Japan. Just tell us a little bit about your collaborations that you've been exploring in Japan.
In Japan, the collaboration with 2 artists, Mel, it was very amazing to work with her. She came to my house to work. And another amazing artist called Shitose Hajime. Shitose did, I think, 3 or 4 songs in the album Music Detected. And we went on tour with Shitose, and it was really nice. My wife is Japanese, so I discovered this the Japan, and I fell in love with Japan, and my wife too. It's for me, for a French guy, the Japanese culture is so different, so different. It's like opposite world, even opposite way of thinking when you speak. With my wife, we have a lot of fun because it's sometimes we just we go to the same point, but with different way. It's funny. And and now next week I will be in Japan for 4 shows. So I play in Tokyo next week.
No, I did notice that, and that's great. So you obviously have a good following or fan base in Japan, which is not surprising given the diversity of your work.
You can see the statistics with Spotify, and you see the country, and everywhere. It's really everywhere.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know you've also done some collaboration in China. So is it Sa Dingding? So tell us a little bit about that, because again, her amazing voice, and it's a very different type of music. Again, tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, same. I discovered this artist on CDs, and I say, okay, I would like to collaborate. So with my manager, we just contact her, and she came to my place too, and we did a couple of songs. I did a concert with her in China too. It was nice. So many artists, I would like to share music, especially vocalists, because for me, I like to, when a vocalist is singing, I like to reharmonize on the back, it gives to the vocalist, and to me, it gives another perspective on the melody. And I think it's really interesting to take the risk to put the melody in another context, because just to change the chords. I think it's quite normal when you play jazz. A lot of jazz musicians, they reharmonize the theme. In jazz, we reharmonize in a structure which is already fixed because there is a song. But when you improvise with a singer, you have no limits. You can harmonize the way you want, and it's really an interpolation between the melody you hear, the singer hear your chords, so it changes a bit, and you rechange again. So it gives this. It really gives the sound of the deep forest. Deep forest, for me, it's really this. It's melody reharmonized in another way.
That's wonderful. I was going to ask you what you thought was the core sound of Deep Forest, and you've just answered that question. So that's wonderful. Another collaborator that I'm fascinated by, and could not be more different from the ones in Japan and China, and that's Josh Groban. So how did that relationship come about?
Oh yeah, Josh, it's a very amazing singer, and he contacted me. He contacted me when he was doing his first debut album, and he was a fan of Deep Forest, and he was in Paris, and he said, "I would like to meet you guys." So we met him, and he said, "I would love you to make a song for me." I said, "Wow, make a song for English speaking singer." In the Deep Forest style, it's not easy, So we need to think about it. And I went back home maybe a few days later. I was listening a bit of his music, and his voice was just in my head. He have a tenor voice, which is at the same time a part of the classical training and pop area too. Is in a modern way. So I said, "Wow, this guy has a really very nice voice. What can I do?" I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, a big heavy rain in the garden, and I hear the song in my head, literally. It's happened sometime when I'm working on a project, but this time I hear the music. I can hear just singing in my head. So I went to my piano, put the phone, record phone, and I play the chord, and just put some line, and then the chorus came to my mind. No, and I get, how do you say in English? Chest, goose chest.
Goosebumps, yeah, goosebumps, yeah.
Goosebumps, yeah. By myself, So, I'm not a singer, so the recording on the telephone was really poor recording. My voice was not really in tune, but the song was there. So I went back to the coffee machine just to take a coffee, because sometimes, you're very excited by an idea, and 10 minutes later you listen again, you say, maybe not. So after a coffee, I listened my recording and said, yes, it's something. Yeah, it's good. So I make another demo with a better vocal, being better playing, and I just send the mail to Josh. Just maybe 1 hour later, I send the mail. Say, I have an idea. I don't know if you like it, but this is my idea. And I think it was the same day at night. I got a phone, and it was David Foster. David Foster
Oh,
called me,
wow.
Eric, this is David Foster. I said, yes. You cannot believe it. We just got your song. We love your song. We want you to come to LA to record the song. Like a dream, Yeah, it started like that. So I did another one called Machine, and I sent another one, and I went to LA to record the song with David Foster, with all the great musicians. The drum was played by Vinny Colaiuta on drums, on machine. The bass was Nathan East. Nathan East was playing the bass.
Oh, of course.
And
okay.
we wanted to have a piano Rhodes, a bit funky piano Rhodes, and Josh said, why don't we ask to Herbie to come to play the piano? Okay. Okay. And Herbie came.
Wow.
I met my hero. And my heroes play.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a very. If we have 5 minutes, I have a very.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Very beautiful story with Herbie. So we went to the studio the day with the Herbie Hancock session piano, and when we arrived at the studio, Herbie was already there. He was in a room playing the Fazioli, beautiful Fazioli. And, I'm like a baby, when I see in a room Herbie playing piano, I cannot interrupt him. How can I say, okay, stop? So I was there listening Herbie playing the Fazioli. He was waiting for the session, and I was waiting for him to stop. And then at the moment, he saw that I was there, so he said, oh, okay, Eric. So we listened to the song, and Herbie went to the piano to record the piano. And then I had a big problem, because Herbie was playing the piano, acoustic piano on my song, but we wanted the Rhodes. So what he was playing on the piano was perfect, it was perfect, but we wanted the Fender Rhodes. So I said, Eric, are you able to say to Herbie that stop the piano, take the Rhodes, say, wow, how can I, because I'm like a baby, I'm very shy, it's Herbie Hancock. I say, okay, Herbie, I'm very sorry, but may I ask you to play a bit of Fender Rhodes on the track, because the first idea was to have your Rhodes like in the funky Rhodes you did, like. And he said, oh, no problem, bring the Rhodes. So we put the Rhodes in the recording room. I was close to him, and he played tracks, and he said, is it what you want? I said, yeah. So he recorded like 6 or 7 tracks, perfect. And he said to me, okay, pick the one you want.
Wow.
This kind of people, they are genius. They are human beings. For them, it's like a normal thing. But for me, it's like talking to God. And when he say, okay, pick the one you want, I say, wow. So my life is full of story with few people like that, like Herbie, Joe Zawinul, Peter Gabriel. That's a few highlights that people, they give you some much energy, some hope in the human being, because they are giants, and you are nobody, and they are so generous with you, So it's a big lesson for me.
Absolutely. And I mean, just to have one session where Herbie and David Foster are both involved is incredible on its own. So yes, that's just an amazing story. Thank you. And I have to ask, because I'm a major fan, tell me a little bit about your collaboration or interaction with Peter Gabriel, another iconic artist.
Yeah, it was another another big story. We were in New York. I was in New York. At that time, I was traveling a lot because a lot of promo, the Deep Forest was big and Bohème was just released. So, and Catherine Bigelow, the filmmaker, she asked us to make some soundtrack movie for her. So we started to work in LA, in France, and they wanted to have a collaboration with a big name. And we said Peter Gabriel, and because it was so obvious for me to make Peter Gabriel and Deep Forest, it's same family somewhere. And Peter was my hero, from Foxtrot, from Genesis Foxtrot, from Nursery Crime, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, everything. It's my childhood, So in New York, Central Park, every summer you have the summer stage where there are artists on stage, and I was there in the public with some people from Sony Music, and somebody talked to put my shoulder and say, "Oh, Eric, I want to introduce to somebody," and he introduced me to Peter Gabriel. And literally, believe me, I could not say a word. I could not say. I say, and Peter was say, "Oh, Eric, nice to meet you. Oh, nice stuff. I love Deep Forest." No, not a word. I was so intimidated. I could not speak. I say maybe, me too. Like stupid things. So, and Peter went somewhere, and at that time you feel so stupid because you say, this guy will think I'm a stupid guy, no conversation. But after a few weeks, we met again in France in the studio to record the track. And I was able to speak, and it was just amazing because he understood how we work. So he went to the mic and started to sing some phrase with no words, like "Hey, oh, I," because he so sample, record. We saw a lot of things. And when he make a pause, we started to edit and play some track, and he loved it. And so we finished the song maybe a couple of days later. We sent the result to Peter, and he said, "Okay, perfect." And the thing is, it's amazing because there is literally absolutely no words in these songs. But on internet, if you check, you can see some people saw the lyrics. Some people understood the lyrics in the wording, and there is no words.
It's just amazing.
It's just sound. It's amazing. And so people start. I see it on internet while you sleeps lyrics, and you have all the lyrics. You have a story, but in the studio there never had any lyrics, any words. It's amazing story, the power of the music.
Yes, absolutely. Now that's a wonderful story again, Eric. Thank you. And I'm interested, through your 30-year career, are there other artists that you still dream of working with or would love to work with if the opportunity arose?
Oh, there is a lot. Because we talk of Herbie and we talk of Peter, but we have to talk about Joe Zawinul too, because Joe was really. I was talking about John Lord before when I was teenager, but when I went to the big folder, Joe for me was a perfect mix between jazz and ethnic music, because Joe is first the accordion player, and of course he's well known for his work with Weather Report. But if you listen then what he did with Syndicate. There is a lot of mix with ethnic music, even in Weather Report a bit, but with Syndicate it's very obvious. And for me to be able to meet Joe Zawinul and to collaborate with him, it was just amazing. Another giant, and so kind to me, so friendly, so it's a story of my life. You meet people who are so high in your scale of genius. So when you are close to them and you talk to them, I always thought it's a mistake. I should be not there. it's maybe it's a dream. It's something not normal. These people are big, and I'm not a big musician. I did something, but they are genius. And you're talking with them. It's always for me. It's always like you're in the wrong place. Somebody will wake you up.
Yeah, another true God, absolutely. And in English we call it imposter syndrome, and I think all of us musicians suffer from that in different ways, where we don't feel like we are worthy compared to our idols. But I think you can certainly hold your head high. I'm really interested, Eric, just obviously still producing some wonderful music. How has the technology changed for you? So if you were to produce an album tomorrow, you're obviously using software. What are your go-to pieces of software and the core of how you create music now technologically?
Yeah, you're right. The technology changed a lot, but not so much, I will say, because it's mainly computer based, mainly with a lot of vintage back in the game again. So for me, it's quite natural. I mean, I still have my Fender Rhodes, my Mini Moog, my analog synthesizer, and on the other hand, I have other technology like the Hancock Continuum keyboards, on the Osmos.
Very interested to hear, just while we're talking about keyboards, I'm very interested to hear about the Continuum and the Osmos, because I know you do use them both, and particularly the Osmos as a relatively new piece of gear. Has that changed anything for you? It is such a unique keyboard. What was your first experiences with the Osmos and what it means to you?
I think the Osmos for me is the keyboard I was waiting for a long, long time. I play synthesizer for a long time, and when I play synthesizer, I always try to get more expression. So, for instance, I use a lot of breath controller, because breath control gives you another way to modulate to express your phrase, and so it's another way to manipulate the expression of the synthesizer. It's happened a lot before the Osmos. When I play a key, I wanted to make this, I wanted to vibrate, because on the left hand you have the mod wheel modulation, the pitch, but sometimes you have your both hands and you want to. So poly aftertouch is not the same. Poly aftertouch is another thing, but the Osmos really brings this possibility to work differently. And I remember a phrase of Joe Zawinul when I was working with him, because he was looking how I play the synthesizer badly, and I was looking how he plays, and we agreed together. He said, you should not play the synthesizer like you play the piano. It's a completely different instrument. You have to play the synthesizer. Each sound on the synthesizer is a new instrument. You have to reinvent your playing on every sound, on every preset when you play. And it's right. It's very, for example, it's very obvious. A lot of people know that, but when he plays a song, the theme of Black Market, actually, I started to play the right way, with the keyboard, with the low to high. But when he played, he reversed the keyboards with his IRP, So he just play in reverse mode. So it's so minded, to be able to change the order of the note of the keyboards and to have new idea coming, because your finger just play something that is not normal, that is not expected by your brain. I do the same with the sample. When I map the sound on my keyboard, I can map the sound in a chromatic way, which is quite obvious. But sometimes I don't do that. I just play different things. So the melody become pattern. You know what I mean? And the pattern is not only, if you play the same pattern on the piano, you don't have the same melody. So it's a game between your finger, your muscle memory, your brain, and the way you can adjust everything. And the Osmos, the Aken, they are the king of this. You can manipulate the sound the way you want, and you really discover a new instrument. Really, really, really. And for me, it was one of the best things that happened in the technology these 2-3 years. And so you have at the same time the vintage is there, the best word, the best analog fat sound from the 80s, from the 70s, and then you have all the electronic stuff and computer from the 90s, which is perfectly working now, and now you have this new I don't know if it's correct word in English, but but lutherie is people who make violin, guitar, like
yes,
working with wood.
Luthier, yep.
So for lutherie, so for me, Osmos and Aken are the modern electronic lutherie, if it makes sense.
That's that makes a lot of sense. That's actually a great comparison. Yeah, love that. And on a totally different topic, Eric, you've performed all over the world. Has there been a time where something has gone very, very wrong on stage that you can look back now and laugh about?
Oh, yes, a lot of things. Yeah, yeah. I think the worst was I don't know where was it. I don't remember the country, but maybe in Latvia, North Europe, in Latvia. I think it was in Latvia. I was playing in a theater, and my keyboard in the front of the stage, and the stands are the X, But I always ask the X with a bar and you can screw it so it doesn't move. But sometimes it happens that you have a X stand with something here, with I don't know. Sorry, my English is poor for that. But it happened that my keyboard was there. I started to play introduction, and after 30 seconds, everything collapsed and fall in front of the stage in the hall, in between the audience is the stage. Everything. So big panic. You're just the audience is just there. Everybody's shocked. No sound, nothing. So I talked to the audience. And of course, they were very kind. They applaud. So and all the technicians, all the staff tried to bring back the synthesizer. We put everything. So it took maybe 10, 15 minutes. Put everything. Just everything was working perfectly. So we start again the show, and everything was working perfectly. So good, good things.
Yes.
But yeah, this is it's happened once, and so now every time I learn my lesson. I ask the X with a bar to clean, and if they don't have, I have to put to secure everything with a stripe.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
No, great. No, that's a wonderful story.
Every musician has stuff like that, things who on stage. You are always. I think I never had any concert where there's not a little surprise. All the time,
Yes.
there is something happening. Sometimes it's just nothing, or just a little thing, but something unpredictable happen on stage all the time. It's funny. So yeah, it's part, show must go on, where you have to continue to play.
That's right. The show must go on. No, that's wonderful. Now, Eric, we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you a final question, which is what we call the dreaded desert island disc question. So 5 albums that have been influential or inspirational for you as an artist.
Oh, that's only 5. Okay, let me think about it. I will take for sure an album from Weather Report, for sure, because it was so important for me at that time to listen to that music. I will say I'm hesitating between Black Market. Okay, let's go for Black Market because it's
great.
It's standard. Okay, let's go there. Then, if we go to the totally different way, style, I will say the concerto in G from Ravel. Concerto in G from Ravel.
Great.
And especially the version played by Samson François, which is very, very exceptional for me. Probably one of the most beautiful piece of music, classical music. It's it's stupid to say the most beautiful because there is not the most beautiful. There is a lot, but one of the most. Then, if I go to my childhood, I remember. I remember my friend gave me a cassette with some music recorded, and at the end of the recording, the album, I don't remember what was the album, but it was music. And at the end, music stopped, and the rest of the previous recording was still running. You know what I mean? On tape, when you didn't erase from everything. And so, and another music came there for like 10 minutes. I have no idea what was this music. And I was fascinated by this. What is this? And I asked to my friend, and he didn't know because he stole the cassette from his elder brother. So we didn't know. And it took me a few months to know what was this music. And it was Close to the Edge from Yes. And so I discovered then Yes Songs, the live with the version of Close to Yes Song was a triple album, I guess, or double album,
yes.
Triple. I don't remember. And I was discovered. I didn't know Yes. At that time I was very young, and I discovered Yes with the Yes Song album. NUNI, Runabout, Siberian Catchroom, Close to the Edge. What a big lesson!
Yes.
And Rick Wakeman, the Mellotron. Wow. Yeah, so I will put it on the list because it's very nostalgic. After, if we go to the jazz, it's very hard. Probably something with Coltrane and Michael Tyner. Probably something like that. It's 4. So still one. Well, one.
Yes.
Which one could I pick? There are so many, but
yes,
it's a very hard question. What can I say? Okay, maybe something. I think they bring another style in the music. I will say something from Massive Attack. One of the first album of Massive Attack.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. But maybe if you ask me tomorrow, I will give you 5 different ones. But it's very hard to pick. But yeah, very eclectic and
great.
Let's go with that.
Great picks. No, great picks. Thank you very much. And look, Eric, we've run out of time, but you just mentioned in relation to Ravel and classical music that it is impossible to pick a most beautiful, but I would like to say that you are responsible for some of the most beautiful music of the 1990s and since you transformed a landscape in a big way, and I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to spend with us to go over what is only a small part of your career. I know we've barely scratched the surface, but hugely appreciate your time.
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Merci, thank you.
And there we have it. As I said in the intro, what an amazing, diverse bunch of collaborations Eric's engaged in. But what you see on top of that is an incredibly modest man who has achieved so much, and as I say multiple times in the interview, has transformed or set new territory in electronic music with what him and his partner did with the sampling and just the approach to composition and so on. I know it certainly had a big impact on me and a lot of people around the world. So I cannot thank Eric enough for his time again. What an amazing guy to speak with, and still going strong and still releasing great music. Please do check the show notes. We've linked to a whole range of Deep Forest work and also Eric's collaborations. It's well and truly worth an explore. Just absolutely amazing. So thank you for sticking with us the whole show. We always appreciate your participation. Obviously, it's no fun without you. I do want to give a shout out to our gold and silver sponsors. So Brother Paul Brown from the Waterboys. Brother Paul is going strong. I know he's currently doing some session work and then goes back out on the road with the Waterboys in the next few weeks. So a huge shout out to you, Brother Paul. Thank you for your support. Tammy from Tammy's Musical Stew, again, one of our longest supporters, and we appreciate it hugely. Tammy, thank you. The musicplayer.com forums and the Keyboard Corner in particular. These forums have been around for well over 20 years, and it is, I've been there for over 20 years, and they've been around closer to 25. It's the best 20 years I've ever spent on the internet. Highly recommend you check it out as well. And last but definitely not least, Mike from Midnight Mastering. If you are creating your own work, just like Eric so ably demonstrated in this interview, and you want someone great to mix and master it, Mike from midnightmastering.com is the guy to go to. I said my own stuff I put through Mike, and I have never been disappointed. So, yeah, thank you, Mike, as well. Again, huge thanks to you. We'll be back again in a week or so. And until then, keep on playing.